What's up, everybody? It's your boy Duty back again with another video. And yes, folks, you know your boy Duty had to do a quick response video on our boy Phil responding to Turkey Tom's interview request. That's right. So I'm reacting to the react from the react. So it's kind of a whole react inception kind of thing. So anyway, yes, we saw our boy Phil here continue to go down the rabbit hole and lose his mind and decided to spend a whole hour, 1 hour, dedicated to respond to Turkey Tom's DM requests, where he had a DM conversation with Phil, a personal conversation, and said, "Hey, I'd like to interview you." He reached out to him as a courtesy, as one creator to another, right? And wasn't rude, wasn't derogatory in no way whatsoever. And Phil decided to spend 1 hour basically trashing him, laying a couple veiled threats out there against Turkey Tom and any detractor that is in the locale, you know, in that locale vortex of milking locales like myself. It was a pretty veiled threat out there. Essentially saying they better watch your back because one day someone's gonna come after them. That's essentially what he said. But you guys could check out my video. It was an hour long. My video is not an hour long. It's about 35 minutes. I had to keep that information in because it was pertinent to the conversation, and I sped it up a little bit, so it's not too bad. It's digestible. So anyway, of course, I wanted to just quickly react and say, Phil's a lunatic. The man has flat out lost his mind. He has. He has just spiraled. I think what's happening here are the memories of the side. So very much like the Wolverine figure and his parents not getting him the Wolverine figure when he was a kid. I believe that event scarred Phil for his entire life. And it's a good reason why he is the turd Ferguson that we see today. And I think that the Side Scrollers interview, the interview that occurred this year, I think is probably doing as much damage to this man's psyche as the Wolverine figure did. The man just can't help but constantly bring up the Side Scrollers, constantly trash them for mistakes he made. Just because they held you accountable, Phil, for your actions, you still can't get past the fact that you were made to look like a fool on the internet after doing a 5-hour interview that made you look guilty as fuck. And that is the consensus across the board. The consensus. Whether it's the locale community, the detractor community, your Dents, everyone. And you've come around to the point now where you know that interview was a fucking disaster for you. And you even say it in your content. And I believe what's going on here, Phil, is that you are so jilted and so upset over what happened. And much like any kind of critique or anything that happens, you just can't get over it. You can't put a period after the end, at the end of it and just move on. No, you got to constantly bring it up, talk about it, and just never shut up about it. And that's what you're doing here. I think the memories of the Side Scrollers podcast is damaging you significantly to the point where anytime someone requests an interview, like Turkey Tom did, you have to spiral out of control. And that's why we got a delicious 1-hour video from you, Phil, spiraling out of control, sounding like a maniac, making up shit, of course, and retconning your last 15 years, which we always love to hear. But you are out of your fucking mind. You are out of your mind. And what I love is I'm going to play this clip right here, which makes perfect sense right here. It makes awesome sense. And I appreciate anyone who submitted that dollar tip or made the comment in Phil's stream regarding what Phil is doing, because this person is spot on. It's spot on because Phil loves to talk about drama content and people milking it and it's disgusting and he never does it. This guy hit it right on the nail.
You see, Phil, well, didn't you just milk Turkey Tom, right? Didn't you just milk it? You just did a whole podcast on the topic, so you milked him for content. I didn't milk him for content. If I didn't do this show, I had plenty of other things to talk about. We got a whole suggestion box of positive things from my viewers we've been waiting to respond to for weeks, and I barely get to it, right? I didn't have to do this. In fact, I kind of feel this was a wasted show. By the way, how many contributions exactly have come in during my show today? We had 1 membership and 4 troll dollar tips that'll likely be charged back, and not, what are you talking about? People don't come to my content for toxic stuff and then contribute. They don't, because that's not what I'm about. When I waste time talking on shit like this actually hurts the business more than helps. Do you understand?
Okay, I'm so glad that that person brought it up, because regardless of whether you make money or not off of it, because you have, Phil, in the past, you do make money off of this drama fucking content. Do I need to bring up the Wings of Redemption documentary, the Boogie documentary, the Pro Jerry documentary, your documentary? You've made money talking about drama fucking content, Phil. And remember the Side Scrollers podcast when you decided to react to their second, their day after podcast? You made money off of that. You made about $300 off of that, milking that drama, Phil. So to sit here and say you don't milk drama, and the reason why you didn't talk about this interview, which actually was a private discussion, that's another thing no one's mentioning. That was a private discussion via DM versus Turkey Tom and Phil. And Phil decided to milk this and milk the drama and make it a spectacle, make it a public spectacle to talk about this interview. What he should have just did was say, hey, Tom, you know what? I thought about it. No thanks. And move on with that way. Then he could have brought it up in a 2-minute conversation on his podcast and say, yeah, by the way, just a quick update. I talked to Turkey Tom. I decided I'm not going to do it. It's just not my best interest, and we're just going to move on. That could have took 2 minutes, Phil. You spent 1 hour of your podcast, probably more because I only watched an hour of it and clipped it. But you spent a little over an hour talking about this fucking drama, milking it. And just because your Dents decided not to give you any money, and a big reason for that is because it's React Day and no one comes to watch your React fucking content. It's utterly ridiculous. It is ridiculous. It is. No one comes to watch it. And you're looking sad and pathetic, Phil, because what you tried to do is you tried to react to this and use this drama to further yourself. That is the only reason why you bring it up. Well, 2 reasons. You bring it up to hopefully milk it for content and money. And the second reason, of course, is because you can't let shit go. How many times do you have to bring up the side scrollers? How many times do you have to bring up Tevin? How many times do you have to bring up your wife? And when she first started on your streams. It's just over and over. It's just constantly, Phil. You love to bring and drudge shit up from the past, and you can never let anything fucking go. You can't. And you know what the best part of this is? You spend an hour ranting and raving, talking shit about Keemstar, Boogie, Wings, Turkey Tom, all of the detractors, thinking that your Dents were going to rally and give you some money. You know what the beautiful part of all this is? I'm going to show you the beautiful part of this is. I'm going to show you the beautiful part. The beautiful part is that you ended up with $25 in tips after the end of your podcast. $25 all from 1 Minute Man, who apparently must have been happy. I guess Linda Burnell was happy you decided to say no to the interview, because they came in yesterday and actually told you, don't do it. You're an idiot. You're going to get snagged, and you're not smarter than you think you are, and you're going to get busted. And he was definitely thinking about doing this interview. He thought, hey man, I'm a smart dude. Turkey Tom just wants to give me a softball puff piece. At the very best, I can get people to come to my streams and milk them for money. But what he didn't count on was Turkey Tom. He's not a slow guy. Turkey Tom's a smart guy. Trust me. He wouldn't give you a softball interview. And that's what your Dents told you. That's what 1 Minute Man, a.k.a. Linda Burnell, told you. And that's what most people told you. And you know what? They were factually correct. Because, Phil, you're not as fucking smart as you think you are. You're fucking not. Now, I'll give you this much credit. I think you did make the right decision in not going on this podcast, because this would have been the interview part 2 Electric Beggaloo. That's what it would have been. It would have been the side scrollers all over again. And I bet you any amount of money that Keemstar would have ended up coming into this interview, bamboozling you, and you be stuck there like an idiot, have to answer questions, and you would look like a total idiot, just like you did on the Side Scrollers podcast. And don't you think, Phil, that Turkey Tom isn't watching detractor content. He is. He is. And by the way, a big shout out to Duty right here. Our boy Turkey Tom actually shouted me out 3 times. So you know he watches Duty's content, and Duty tracks every move you make, Phil. So he knows what's going on. He knows the ins and outs of your stupidity, and he knows when you're lying and when you're full of shit. And what he's gonna do is, if he interviews you, he's gonna counter your bullshit. So again, Phil, I'll give you credit for this. You did make the right decision in not doing this interview, because I don't think it would have worked out for you. You would have came out looking fucking terrible. And I'm kind of sad you didn't do it, because it's more content for me to milk, you know, because I like to milk the cows, especially you, Phil. And it's sad you're not going to do it, but from your perspective, I think you made the right decision. I think this would have been a very bad move for you, because it would have ended up on the Locale Live podcast. It would have. And you would have been looking like a fucking moron, just like you did. But either way, it still looks sucky, because one, excuse me, if you would have done it, you would have turned out looking terrible. It would have been a bad thing for you. But now that you chose not to do it, you look like a little bitch. You look like a little scared bitch who's too scared to actually go on and have a conversation with someone who's willing to give them a fair shot and somewhat of a puff piece. You're even too scared to do that, Phil. So you look like a bitch either way. And you know what, guys? Your boy Duty loves it. Anyway, that's all I have to say on this. If anything else comes up, I'll definitely let you know. But this today has been Chef's Kiss. Peace out.